Hey everyone, it's John with Roadkill Incorporated. I did a small pickup today, just one medium pallet. It's snowy out, but not so snowy that it's a real problem. Interesting pallet though. Good mix of stuff. We have a G4 Cube, which that's definitely a first in a recycler pickup for me. Cinema display screen for it, and also a keyboard and mouse. So hopefully it's all working and I can sell that as a bundle. That would be nice. Mix of other stuff, iPhones, iPods, clamshell, some power books down there. But what's really interesting is over on the other side. Look at that. What are those? Are those USB-C ports? I don't think I've ever gotten that many of these machines before. So, wow. That's new. And then over here we have some, 2013 to 15 Retinas. So, yeah, we'll see if they're too good to be true or not. Maybe they're all damaged in some horrible way, but I don't know. Maybe this recycler has given me a Christmas present. That would be nice. So, yeah, interesting. We'll get them inside and see what we've got. Okay, brought everything in and it is looking good. This has been a really interesting lot. This is not all of it. I've put away some of the pretty typical stuff, the Unibody Pros and the normal material that I've shown in other videos. But yeah, so this isn't that interesting. Mac Minis, time capsules, Apple TVs, wireless base stations, stuff like that. None of this is really valuable. Over here we have a Samsung box. Been a while since I've gotten any Samsung. I don't know too much about these. They're a little bit older, not super old, but some decent, small and regular sized tablets there. I've got a guy who takes that from me, so I'll give those to him. Then we have some various iPhones and iPods, looking good, pretty good condition. So far, most of them are not locked, which is unusual. Usually these are all activation locked. Not too many broken screens either. That's good. This box actually is from a previous lot, so I just happen to have this here. Very dirty, very much destroyed. You can see that. This lot did have a couple iPhone 1s, which I didn't have any of, so that was good to get. Those are increasingly valuable. There were a few iPads. Most of them are not shown here. This was interesting. I don't get many Android phones, but these are, Note 8. I mean, these are certainly newer Android phones than I've ever gotten, and they even have the plastic on them. I don't know if that means they're new or if they have replacement parts and they didn't take the plastic off the replacement parts. Very strange. I'll have to explore those though, because they could be worth some money. And we have iPhones, iPods. These might be, these are time capsules. The heavy ones are time capsules. But yeah, a really nice collection of iPhones, iPods. These are all 8s. 8s are worth some money. I'll have to see if they're locked or not. That makes all the difference. Some 6s and 7s. So yeah, here we have, I've never got one of these from a recycler before. This is a G4 Cube. I knew this guy was coming, but I did not have my hopes up. I was expecting it to be totally destroyed, but it's actually it's beautiful. Great shape. I'll have to test it later on. Got the complete setup with it. This is the cinema display. It's got this connector, which is a one plug connector. Power and data go through this, so you connect it to the thing, and then you either power on the monitor, which powers on the computer, or the computer, which powers on everything. So sort of a cool setup. It's funny with these, you've got this nice little cube, but then you have this ridiculous brick. So that seems to be a common theme when you have a nice small computer. They have the power system external to it. Yeah, got this nice keyboard here. I'd forgotten that they made red ones. I think this came with a original CRT iMac, if I'm guessing right. I'll have to be kind of cool if I could use it with these Atari monitors, but I don't think that would probably work. And we have these, I forgot what they call these, but they're kind of cute, but they're really, I don't think anyone likes to actually use those. I think they're valuable though. I think they're worth $20 or $30 each. So anyway, yeah. And that brings us to the star of the show, which is these Retinas. Usually I get like one Retina per pickup. But like I said, I think this recycler is giving me a Christmas present because, wow, look at all these. This isn't even all of them. I've already processed probably a third of what I got. Wow. Yeah, Retina's in good shape with most of their parts. That is very unusual for me and very good luck. But I have discovered something with these that is very unfortunate. These are double locked. What do I mean by double locked? Well, they have a firmware password and they are remote managed, which is very odd. I've never run into that before. Usually, if you have a firmware password, that's the only form of security on it, and you're good to go beyond that. Or once you're remote managed, they don't employ any other kind of security. But these have both. So that's really kind of a disturbing precedent that they would have both. So what is a firmware password? What is remote management? I'll go into that a little bit. Firmware password, if you power on a MacBook holding down the Option key and you get a padlock with a password prompt, that is a firmware password. It's not letting you boot to an external device. It's not letting you wipe the drive. It's kind of a primitive, old school security method. I'm surprised people still use it, honestly. But yeah, that's what these have. And they're also remote managed. What is remote management? Well, remote management is a system that Apple has for institutions, whereby the institution from a server can deploy a profile, a remote management profile, to all of the institution's computer based on the serial number of the computers. And this allows them to impose restrictions and deploy software automatically, all that kind of stuff. It's like group policy in Windows, basically, except your machines are generally out in the field. So how do you know if a machine is remote managed? Well, what you do is you install the OS to a machine, and then when you're setting up the machine in the startup wizard, when you get to the Wi-Fi login, you log into your Wi-Fi. At that point, the machine does a handshake with Apple, and if it is managed, if it's remote managed, then at that point the profile comes down. Apple identifies it as a remote managed machine. The profile comes down, and the profile asks you to log in to that institution. So remote management is not supposed to be a lock. It's not like activation lock. It's not a firmware lock. It's not meant to be a lock, but it's effectively a lock, because if you don't have that login, then you're screwed at that point. If a customer buys that computer on eBay and they log into their Wi-Fi and then a remote management profile comes down, they're stuck. They can't do anything with that computer. So it is effectively a lock. And it's very disturbing because an increasing number of iPads, iPhones, and MacBooks are all coming out remote managed, because when the institutions get rid of their machines, they don't bother to go into their software and remove the serial numbers of the machines as they are giving up those machines. They're supposed to, per their contract with Apple, take those machines out of remote management before they dispose of those machines. But they figure, we're just giving them to the recycler. The recycler's going to destroy them all, so why bother? I've even run into instances of Apple reps telling their customers, the institutional customers, you don't need to bother taking them out of remote management. It's just not that important. So big issue. Machines effectively being bricked by remote management. So I can talk about that all day. But anyway, so these machines double locked, which is very scary. There are ways these things can be worked around. I don't really do that. I pass them on to people who do. But the truth is that it's not effective for recyclers and other institutions to spend tons of time on workarounds for these issues. And realistically, a lot of devices just get scrapped. You know, big recyclers, they don't mess around with jailbreaks and other things for iPads that are remote managed or whatever. They just scrap them. They just identify that they have these locks, and then the devices get scrapped. So it's very scary. Additionally, around the corner, we're already seeing activation lock on 80-90% of iPads and iPhones. It's an epidemic. And as of 2018, with Catalina, MacBooks can be activation locked as well. So in the very near future, I'd say 1, 2, 3 years from now, we're going to be seeing triple locked MacBooks. We're going to be seeing, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90% of MacBooks that come through the recycler channel, activation locked. And there's really not that much hope once that happens, because that is the harshest lock of all. And so it's really the refurbishing industry going down the toilet. And no one sees it because no one pays attention to the recycling industry and the recyclers themselves and the institutions that donate to them. They just don't raise awareness of these issues at all. So it's a scary thing. But anyway, rant over. Just wanted to go over that. And do what you can to raise awareness of this, because it's really a sad thing, especially in a pandemic, when we need millions more devices. Here we have the millions of devices. They're just being thrown away. They're being scrapped. They're being discarded because of these locks that, for no real good reason, cause the devices to be unusable. Hey everyone, so on a lighter note, I just wanted to give a brief overview of an Atari 1040 ST computer. I picked up about 20 of these and a bunch of monitors and other stuff if you watch my previous video and want to know more about that. But now that I've been getting through them and setting them up, I just wanted to talk a little bit about them. Not that I'm an expert, but I've learned a little more. So this is the Atari 1040 ST. It has 1 megabyte of RAM, not a gigabyte, but a megabyte, 1 megabyte of RAM. It is a floppy disk based computer. Does not have a hard drive. It has a floppy disk. This is a rusty floppy drive. And it's funny. It has this graphical operating system called TOS. TOS. I don't know what that means. Probably something silly. But when I first powered on one of these, it booted up to the graphical operating system. So I assumed it had a hard drive because other computers like the Commodore Amiga, which was a competitor of this, they booted up their operating system from a disk. So since I was getting to the OS without a disk, I assumed it had a hard drive. But I've since learned that Ataris have the operating system in ROM, which is actually kind of cool because that's helpful. Like so many of these old computers, you power them on, they might power on, but then how do you unless you have the old media, the old floppy disks or whatever, you're just kind of stuck. So Ataris are different that way because they have the operating system in ROM. So TOS is a very primitive Windows type OS. There's really not much here. Like you put a disk in the drive and then you double click that and then you get the disk comes up. But there's really not much to see without any software. I don't have any software, unfortunately. It doesn't even tell you what version of TOS it is. You know the version by the copyright date. Like I think 1985 is one of the first versions of TOS. And if it said 1989 or something, then you have the latest and greatest. I'm not sure what that is. But yeah, so there's the OS, very primitive Windows type OS. This was a great game computer. It was used for games. It was used for music production because they have MIDI ports on the side, which most computers you had to buy like an external MIDI box. It's a 68,000 based computer, Motorola 68,000 processor right there, which is a significant upgrade. It's a 16-bit processor. Much better than the 8-bit 6502 that the Commodore 64 was based on. It has an internal power supply, which is actually really cool because it uses a standard power cable. Most other computers of the era had a giant power brick that would, sit on the floor. So very nice to have this internal, and it's, removable too. So if it dies or you need to recap it or something, it's all right there. So that's pretty cool. And there's the shielding and everything for that one. These are hard drives. These are Atari hard drives. So back in the day, if you wanted a hard drive for your computer like this, you got something like that, big chunky thing. And chances are it was, a 20 megabyte hard drive or a 50 megabyte hard drive. Not 20 gig or 50 gig, 20 megabyte. So not much storage, and they were slow too. And what else do I have to say? I think that's about it. Just wanted to do an overview of this machine since I assume most people watching my channel have not seen an Atari. So I just wanted to give you a sense of what, prehistoric computing looked like. And there you go. That's about it for this video. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.